not up here yet. We got to see some. Good evening. The Clinton City Council will please come to order. We'll start with a pledge of allegiance. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gaspar.
Here.
Seeley.
Here.
McGraw.
Here.
Allison.
Here.
Oder. Here. Connell.
Here.
O'Neill.
Here. Here.
Councilman O'Neill, will you please read the minutes?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the special council meeting of April 19th, 2017, and that they be approved as published on May 2nd, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have roll call, please.
Councilmember Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes?
Gaspar.
Yes.
We have one proclamation tonight.
Your Honor.
Councilman Oder will, yes.
I've got another set of minutes to read.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I move to dispense with the reading of the regular city council meeting and committee of the whole meeting of the minutes of April 25th, 2017, and they be approved as published in, on May 9th, 2017. I move this this motion be passed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will please call the roll?
Councilmember Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes?
Gaspar.
Yes.
We have a proclamation tonight designating May 11th, 2017 as Great Give Day in the city of Clinton, Iowa. Councilman Oder will read that for us.
Thank you, Your Honor. Whereas local nonprofit organizations enhance the quality of life of the residents of the city of Clinton and surrounding communities throughout Northeast Iowa, and whereas Great Give Day is a 24-hour online giving day established by Community Foundation of Greater Dubuque in 2014 to celebrate and support local nonprofits and build a stronger community, and whereas since 2014, the annual event has raised nearly $900,000 into Northeast Iowa nonprofits, providing much-needed operational support to address basic human needs, child development, education, environment, the arts, and other essential community needs. And whereas we invite all community members to visit greatgiveday.org on Thursday, May 11, 2017, to support 150 participating nonprofits and the good work they do in Northeast Iowa. Now, therefore, I, Marcus Ulich, Mayor of Clinton, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, staff, and the citizens of Clinton, do hereby proclaim the 11th of May, 2017, as Great Give Day in the city of Clinton, Iowa.
Thank you. We have 4 public hearings this evening. I will convene a public hearing concerning amendments to the fiscal year 2016-2017 budget. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this issue? Have we heard anything in the clerk's office?
We have not, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilman Gassman.
Thank you. I move that the public hearing concerning amendments to the FY 2016-2017 city operating budget be entered into the record.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We call the roll, please.
Councilmember McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes?
Gaspar.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Councilman Gassman.
Your Honor, I have a resolution approving the amendments to the FY 2016-2017 city operating budget. I move it be adopted as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We call the roll, please.
Can we have some discussion?
Yes, we can have discussion.
Okay, thank you. Anita, could I just have you kind of give us an overview of some of the amendments, since there are some larger items?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor. Well, no, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Yeah, Cody and I discussed this today, so I thought I'd just go over a few items that he highlighted. There are some adjustments to, it's mainly the sewer fund, the operating fund for the sewer operating equipment repairs. We had budgeted $100,000 in this line item for fiscal year 17, and I'm proposing an amendment to that that totals $566,915. As of April 30th, we had spent $80,000, but we have a couple projects coming up that we know we're going to get expenses, invoices in for before the end of the year, and that's what is causing the amendment. One of them, I think, Jason Kraft or Bob Milroy may have included in a weekly report, but it's to, I guess, bore out a line that goes to the 20th Avenue North Pump Station. That one alone is $370,000. There were some floodgates that we have not been invoiced for. There was another emergency repair for $50,000. And then I just, since we were only 8 months into the year, put another $100,000 in there, just so that we don't exceed our budget authority in that activity. A couple of the other larger ones, in the sewer improvement fund, we had no budget set for fiscal year 17, and the other technical services line item is $175,000 that was spent already, so I'm just marrying that up with a budget amendment in the sewer improvement fund for the 25th Avenue North pumping station project. We had no budget authority established, and so I'm increasing that line item for $235,000. And in the 20th Avenue North sewer separation project, we had no budget authority established for fiscal year 17, and that one I'm increasing by $465,000 based on where the expenditures are so far this year and what we could anticipate in the next 2 months. A couple of the other items in the road use tax fund, we received a state grant from the Iowa Department of Administrative Services of $190,000. We had not budgeted for that, so I'm increasing that revenue line item by $190,000. Keep in mind that when we did this budget for fiscal year 17, it was March 15th of 2016. And a budget is a guideline. It's what we were expecting at that time, and we've exceeded it in a couple of categories. So that's what the budget amendment's for. Hoping to knock that off of the audit comments list this year, and be very diligent about analyzing every account. I did analyze every account. I shared my workbook with a couple of people, and so I guess, yeah, it's an exercise that we go through every year. I looked back on last year's amendment. It was very similar. I will call out a couple of good things. In the general fund, we're increasing revenues by revenues by $587,000. That's due to some miscellaneous reimbursements, some selling of vehicles that we weren't anticipating when we set the budget, and I am offsetting that with expenditures in the general fund of $262,000. And then the other one to note is in the MTA, and I think we discussed this when we went through the fiscal year 18 budget, but the transit department has seen an increase in paratransit revenue, and so I'm increasing that line item of revenue by $317,968, and the only expenditure line item that I am increasing there is a building maintenance for $20,000.
Any further questions? Councilman O'Neill?
Does that give us that doesn't change anything in the levy, does it?
No,
Okay.
no. And most of these are expenditures that we've already had. Just a couple of them are ones that I know what the invoice amount's gonna be, and we haven't gotten the invoice yet. I sent out fund balances, as of 3/31, I believe it was. I don't have that sheet with me. Must be back there on the table. But, you know, in April, we got our, property tax allowance, and it's the big one. Every year, we get two big ones. One's in April, one's in October. And so the general fund balance that was enumerated for you on that report as of March 31st, I think it was $517,000. Now it's $3.2 million. So, you know, things can change drastically in 1 month. Another thing that I would call out, just to maybe put your mind at ease about the amendment. So we approved a couple weeks ago to give the YWCA $15,000 out of the TIF LMI fund. If I did not amend that amount and we have that expenditure, we would be overspent in in that fund, and that would be an audit comment if I didn't have enough cushion from other accounts. So that's included in here. That's a small amount, but it's also a good example of how you don't know, we didn't know about that request when we certified the budget in March of 2016.
Thanks, Anita. I think it's ever changing, and this may be personal preference for me, but maybe next time we do this next year or whatnot, I'd either oral summary like you provided just now, where you kind of highlight what's going on with some of these amendments, or a written summary along with the amendment
Sure.
would certainly be helpful for me, so I can understand exactly what's amended and why. Not necessarily the smaller ticket items that just are due to daily operations, but some of the bigger ticket items, so.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. After we spoke today, I looked back to see what I had provided last year, and I did do a better job of calling out explanations, so I apologize for that.
Cool, okay.
Any further discussion? We've had a motion and a second. Discussion, we call the roll, please.
Councilmember McGraw,
yes,
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman,
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes,
Thank you. I will convene a public hearing concerning the submission of public transit grant application. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this? I thought he was coming up. Has anyone heard anything in the clerk's office?
We have not, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilman McGraw?
oh, okay. Move that the public hearing concerning the submission of public transit grant application be entered into the record.
second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman,
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes,
McGraw,
Yes,
Allison,
Yes.
Odor.
Yes.
Councilmember McGraw.
thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution approving submission of public transit grant application. I move that the resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman,
Yes.
Seeley.
yes,
McGraw,
Yes,
Allison,
Yes.
Odor.
Yes.
I want to convene a public hearing concerning the issuance of not to exceed $500,000 in general obligation capital loan notes. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address this issue? Have we heard anything in the clerk's office?
We have not, Your Honor.
Councilmember Connell?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that a public hearing concerning the issuance of not to exceed $500,000 general obligation capital loan notes be entered into the record.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Seeley?
do we have the kind of a breakdown of what this money's for?
So please keep in mind that this resolution is tied to the next resolution. It's
Yes.
just breaking out what general corporate purpose is versus essential corporate purpose. I did not get the breakdown, from Allers and Cooney, but this is for $500,000. It says that, general corporate purpose is for general infrastructure such as streets, sewers, drains, bridges. Oh, excuse me, I'm reading essential
Yeah,
corporate
that's
purpose.
essential.
Sorry. General buildings, city hall, fire station, municipal garage, public library, most city enterprises, electric and gas utilities, airports and parks, other public purposes which are not essential in nature. So on our list, we have a city storage facility for $200,000. So that's 200 of the 500. We have some items for Eagle Point Park. We have a roof at the North Shelter. Remember it said, airports and parks. So I believe they pulled out the roof at the North Shelter, the traffic gates, there was some playground equipment of $45,000. You know, there's this big list that we had when we went through the fiscal year 18 budget process. So they took this list that adds up to $10,065,000, and they earmarked 500 of it as general corporate purpose.
Okay.
Didn't you provide the breakdown when we, at
We
the
had it
cow,
at
when
one
we went
point.
through that?
Yes.
I know there was all broke down. I
And
just
that
didn't see,
list
it
has
wasn't
not
in this
changed.
packet, but I know it was
Yeah.
listed.
Yep.
And so if we're at 10,060,000 and we're borrowing 10.5, we're not truly buying, we're borrowing up to 10.5.
Not to exceed. The resolution says
So
not
we're
to
only gonna
exceed.
borrow what we actually need.
What we actually need
And
for the projects and to cover the financing
When does
costs.
that amount get finalized or determined?
Well, tonight is the night that you would, you're also approving on the agenda the official statement for the electronic bidding procedure. So tonight, you're approving for the
Okay,
bonds to be
so
sold.
it's based on the 10,060,000.
Yeah,
That's exactly what it is. And 500's earmarked for general.
correct.
And the rest would be essential.
Exactly right.
Okay.
So what if the prices don't come back in where they expected on the budget?
Then we have to do our homework and, you mean the sale, or if we said the slide
What,
was?
when they go to purchase? Cause I think you had asked if it was 10.5 or if it's the 10.60.
Yeah.
And if it's up to the 10.5
Mm-hmm.
and say their budget's numbers were incorrect, are we just kinda sitting there going, okay, I guess we can't buy this, or do they have to go find another way to?
We find
Get those funds.
we find another use for the money. We,
Okay.
you know, and if it falls out of general corporate purpose or essential corporate purpose, we come back to the council as a body and ask for that authority to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Do you yet know the terms of this bond? Will it be front-loaded? Do you know those terms yet?
I think all of that was included in the official statement.
That you sent out.
Mm-hmm,
Okay, I
it
did
gave
not go
the
through
par amounts of
That's
the
right.
paybacks.
I did see that. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And there was no penalty for paying, if you didn't use a portion, there's no penalty for paying that off, right?
Correct.
Correct.
You could always, if we borrowed, and please keep in mind, and for people that are watching at home, $10 million, this bond is for $10 million because we're funding 2 projects with it. The CIP, well, really 3, the CIP that went through the CIP process. We're funding the capital requests by the departments that went through the fiscal year 18 budget process. And then we're also funding a $4.6 million sewer project.
Yes.
And we put it together because today we went through a credit rating call with Moody's, and we don't just get that for free. That costs us like $12,000 to
Yep.
get that credit rating. So if we would have broken this into 2 borrowings, you pay that twice.
Yep.
You pay PFM's fees twice to facilitate the sale. So we're really saving about $30,000 by doing it this way. I know that maybe that doesn't sound like a lot of money when you're borrowing $10 million, but when you're doing it in the same year, and we needed the money for the sewer project by July 1st, and we always do the borrowing started in July, we just made a decision to lump it together.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any further Councilman O'Neill?
Thank you. I don't know if it's in the 500,000 or the 10 million. Wherever the police cars are in there, do we have that accelerator or that clause in there
Yes.
where we're paying those off
In
3
3 years.
So we're not.
Yep,
so
yep,
we're
we
not
front
paying
loaded
for
the
police cars
the
for
debt payment for
15
those,
years.
yes.
I know we need the cars, but no sense in
Fire truck?
paying it that one. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Anita?
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. We've had a motion and a second discussion. Is there any other questions that we want to ask before we call roll? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Halsey?
Yes.
Odor?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilman Connell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $500,000 general obligation capital loan notes. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second?
There is a motion and a second. Is there any questions you'd like to ask or any concerns? Seeing none, can we call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Halsey?
Yes.
Odor?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Thank you. Convene a public hearing concerning the issuance of not to exceed $10 million general obligation capital loan notes. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address this issue? Have you heard anything in the clerk's office?
We have not, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilman O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that public hearing concerning the issuance of not to exceed 10 million general obligation capital loan notes be entered in the record.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution instituting the proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $10 million in general obligation capital notes. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Oh, I just had one comment.
Councilman O'Neill.
Just for the public at home, this $10 million, like the finance director said, are things we've already done our due diligence and looked at during the budget session. It's not like, you know, we came up with $10 million since March to spend on. So, you know, these things have been aired out, and we picked and choose the ones that we thought were the best for the city. So, it's just now the step to take to borrow the money. So, just the public knows where that money's going.
Thank you. We've had a motion and a second. Can we call the roll, please?
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes?
Gaspar.
Yes.
We now move to the audience comment portion of our meeting, and tonight we have two people that have requested to speak to council, and the first one is David Peters. Would you like to come forward, Mr. Peters?
Thank you. My name is David Peters. I live at 1136 Bobetta Court, Clinton, Iowa. And I'm here very pleased, and I want to say thank you. And I wrote it out because I kind of have a proposition that I would like to have a proclamation given to Jason Kraft in this form. I come to you to express that I am doubly pleased with the outcome of the meeting with Jason Kraft. Instead of hoping for two parking spaces to park on 20th Avenue North, Jason envisioned 4 instead of 2, way beyond my dreams. So I propose that henceforth he be referred to and proclaimed as the city of Clinton's Imagineer, along with being your engineer. That comes from the Disney Corporation, that they do not call their engineers, they call them Imagineers. And I think Jason should be. So I would leave this here, and hopefully somehow you can proclaim him as his second name or his middle name.
Oh, you better believe we'll do it every day.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Peters.
I'll volunteer to throw a little pixie dust in there for you.
You already have, Ed. The second request is from Mike Hersch from Clinton Regional Development. Every now and then.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm not real sure how I follow that. I'll work on something though, Matt, I guarantee.
Come up with a name for us, maybe.
Yeah, there you go, there you go.
He's got a few.
Yes, but they're all good tonight. Well, the one thing I would say is I'll tag on to the idea of Imagineers and ask you to put your Imagineering goggles on as we talk just briefly. Many of you know that the CRDC has been working to try to repurpose the former Ashford University campus for nearly the last 2 years, since Ashford announced in July of 2015 that they were going to close the Clinton facility. Last Saturday's Clinton Herald article, I know, raised some concerns in the community. Some of you were recipients of some of those concerns as you went about your lives in the city over the last several days. Hopefully today's article alleviated a bit of those concerns. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to see that. I thought it was a much more positive article. We still believe that a STEM academy for the benefit of Clinton and the surrounding region is still achievable. In fact, we're working on the Phase 2 project, and just last week I received this 30-page market analysis, which unquestionably demonstrates that there's market demand for the STEM academy. This will help us sell the project at the state level in particular. That being said, I think the major thing to consider is this is an important project to replace the economic impact that was lost when Ashford University closed. We lost the student spending. We lost the spending by the university on goods and services. We lost the economic impact of the employees and the salaries paid to the teachers and so on. And now this objective of trying to repurpose the university, the former university campus, with a STEM academy seeks to refill that lost revenue to the city and that lost economic impact to the city from when Ashford closed. If you use the Illinois Math and Science Academy as an example, fully 50% of the teachers in that sophomore through senior program have PhDs. Fully 25% more have advanced certificates. And so we have a real opportunity here, I believe, to impact the economy of the Clinton region. We understand that in the wake of the article from the newspaper, some members of the City Council might have an interest in assisting the effort in a meaningful way. And I just wanted to convey to you this evening, Clinton Catalyst has shared with me their appreciation for the phone calls and outreach that they received from several of you, members of the City Council, over the weekend. They were deeply appreciative of that. I think that the city has an opportunity here to truly be a difference maker in this project. This is where we come to the Imagineering piece. At the end of the day, I think each of us have to ask ourselves, what kind of community do we want to live in? This project could well be catalytic for Clinton's image and economy. And so I think it behooves us to work to replace that lost economic impact and to attempt to burnish our image in the state and elsewhere by pursuing this project as hard as we can. At the CRDC, I and members of our team, we stand ready to assist the city, work in partnership with the city, with Clinton Catalyst, with others, to achieve the vision of an Iowa STEM Academy here in Clinton. And maybe, frankly, it's delayed a bit than it should have been, but I do want to offer to you the opportunity to come and talk with you in more detail at an appropriate time about the aspects of the academy, the timeline of how things have developed over the course of the last nearly 2 years. And I did ask the city clerk to place in your mailboxes a copy of a PowerPoint presentation that I've used in some other presentations, just to give you some background. With that, thank you for your time this evening, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Kirchhoff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
We'll now move to the consent agenda. Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move we approve the consent agenda as presented on the attachment.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions or any changes? Yes.
I'd like to pull one.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'd like to pull number 6. No, sorry, 7 and 12.
Thank you. We'll now move to motions, resolutions, and ordinances. Councilman Gassman.
We have to approve what we have.
Oh, yeah, we have to
We have to
The
approve
balance.
the consent
The-
agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Move to approve the balance of the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Sealy,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Councilman Gassman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we receive and approve and place the claims on file as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to place the claims on file. Is there any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Connell,
Abstain.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yep.
Sealy.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman McGraw.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution, a standing resolution authorizing agreements regarding special duty police service. I move that the resolution be adopted as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman,
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Councilman Oder.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution for the City of Clinton to adopt a policy on the City of Clinton owning and operating a single-stream recycling program. I move that it be adopted as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Seeley.
Thank you. I don't have much to say on this except for what I said before. And I'm concerned with the numbers and the way this is gonna go down to the point where I'm not comfortable with proceeding at this time. Nothing's changed for me from that respect. I think it's gonna end up costing a little bit more than we're projecting, but that's my take on it. So I won't be supporting it at this time, and I think it would be in our best interest to get a more thorough plan together before we proceeded. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Seeley. Is there any other questions or suggested discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman,
Yes.
Seeley,
No.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution finding necessity to institute emergency proceedings under Iowa Code 384-102, parentheses 2, close parentheses, in directing emergency repairs to sewer and waiving hearing and bid process. I'll move this resolution be adopted as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I had a question on this. It referenced Exhibit A, and there wasn't Exhibit A. I didn't see it in the packet. And then it appears that the way the resolution reads, are we adding another $15,000 to the original estimate?
Mayor, council, may I approach
you.
the bench? I
No.
thought this was in the package, and, as I hand this out, do you want me to just go down and hand this one by one?
Thank you.
I thought this was in the packet, this was drafted well in advance of the resolution, so I apologize for that, and
Thank you.
it's just pretty much verbatim what was presented at the committee of the whole with a few added things in there, a schedule, and just sort of a little better reasoning why there
Thank you.
is emergency to act quickly on this project. So, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, City Attorney, City Administrator, Jason Kraft, City Engineer. This, so as I said, and I don't need to go through the whole background here, but just due to the dire nature of the situation, we've got a lot of sewage that's traveling through a broken pipe, and when it rains, we have to pump into a smaller pipe. We need to get correctly sized pipe under the railroad tracks as soon as possible. So, per this code section, we recommend that that we institute an emergency action plan to get this pipe replaced. That said, we do think we should take some quotes. We rather than just calling one contractor, it might take them a couple weeks to get here anyway. So we're going to take quotes next week and award a contract based on the lowest responsible quote at the next council meeting, and then we anticipate construction to begin on June 1st. The $15,000, I think in some of this discussion in this letter, I was just trying to lay out some of the reasons why we might proceed this quickly, and one of those is if we don't, we're definitely going to have additional hours and dollars spent on bypass operation. So that's, we estimated $15,000 is based on, never know how much rain we're going to get and how many pumps we're going to have to send down there, men. And staff time and that, so we need to get this into the hands of a contractor as soon as we can, so. Does that answer it?
I wish we would've had this earlier.
Well, yeah, so this is Exhibit A.
Yeah,
Okay.
Is that gonna be entered in then as Exhibit A? And has this been reviewed by Pat?
Yes,
We're okay?
it reflects what it needs to reflect
Okay.
pursuant to the code section, and I did discuss this with the city engineer, and his reasons that he's proffering now would appear to comply.
Are there any other questions, discussion? Councilman O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Honor. I was, a little hesitant to move the resolution to be accepted. At my public forum on Saturday, there were a number of objections to the idea of it, that being this much an emergency. One of the alternative things that came up was the first concern would be for the constituents or the citizens that have stuff coming back in their basement. And one fella, and I think he had some kind of background, made the suggestion that we could probably save a lot of money by going through the regular bid system, but in the interim, take some funds and get some pumps in those I think there's 5 or 6 houses that Jason said were affected by this, and there may be 10. But even if we go and spend $20,000 or $15,000 on pumps and put those pumps in their houses to alleviate that problem, we'd be much better ahead if we went through the regular bid process. You know, this has been there for years, and I realize that it has no bottom in it, and it's not much of a pipe at all. But in any time when you are in that kind of situation, you are not probably gonna get friendly bids. We're gonna get bids of, opportunity. And so, I think we can, I think our first concern should be the citizens and get those pumps that we buy and supply in their basements so they don't have the problem, even if we have to, do something in their yard at our expense. And if we don't have a bidding process till July, then, I think we could save quite a bit of money. And I don't think going onto that railroad track in haste is something that, is advisable either, because if there is any problem with that, you're gonna need a fairly large bid. The UP or the CP isn't very friendly to board underneath their track. So I'm really hesitant to jump in this and spend $300,000, 300 and whatever it is, predicated on that. And since, when a pipe rusts out at that kind of gauge metal, that's been that way for a lot of years. So I don't think the due diligence or the prudence of taking a little bit longer and going through the regular bid process and getting some competition in it and save quite a bit of money. We're gonna spend a little more with the pumps for the citizens, but I don't have a problem with that. I think that's, who we need to be focused on in the first place if we're causing the problem. That's gonna be my take on it.
Jason?
Your Honor?
I'm sorry.
Do you have something to come back to talk about there?
Sure. So, it's hard to explain. It's been going bad for many years, but it's like we only now realize that it hasn't been this bad throughout history. It only now got this bad. If I had a roof that I just neglected for 30 years and it never leaked, and then one day it leaked, I wouldn't just say, I guess I'll just wait. It's been bad for 30 years. This pipe is collapsing. It has no bottom, and it carries an extremely high amount of waste from the entire north end of Clinton by gravity, and we rely on this pipe to convey that waste to our lift station. And with it blocked, if it gets any worse, I don't know what kind of damage it can cause. With all due respect, I do not think that we should wait. I mean, I understand what your constituents may have said. I understand that we should always try to be saving the taxpayer money and getting the best deal on a project we can. We've got it engineered to go right now. We're not gonna change any of the engineering standards. We have a permit that I expect to get back from the Canadian Pacific Railroad within the next couple of days. They're fine with the project. They're, of course, glad that we're constructing a new steel casing to their specifications and not leaving the old one in there. They don't want their tracks to settle. We would fill those old casings, the 21 and the 30-inch that are presently under the railroad tracks with grout, so that that doesn't occur. And there's just a number of things that could happen if we leave this go. So I think, I mean, in my opinion, it is urgent. I don't want to just sit on my hands and wait for something else bad to happen, because it could happen. So I mean, we can do that, but I don't think it's something you can just limp along. It'd be different if it was just like an 8-inch sewer that served 3 or 4 houses, but this serves thousands of people in the north end of Clinton. It's a 30-inch line, and when it rains, it's surcharged, and you cannot pump it into the 21-inch without it backing up. It's leaving sediment upstream. The pipe's not getting any better under the tracks. It is conveying a little bit of waste during dry weather flow, but I just don't see, so it does, in my opinion, it meets, as a professional engineer, it meets the standard for an emergency repair. And I know what you're saying. If I called up one contractor who had 100 jobs to do, and I said, I gotta have you out there tomorrow, that's gonna be an expensive bill. But we're offering, I've already reached out to several contractors. We're offering that they submit quotes, and we'll still take the lowest bid, provided they can get it done in the amount of time that we've laid out in the contract. So I don't think it's gonna cost any more for the city to go this route in this case. The only reason to go this route is to get it done as quick as possible. And that explains it, I think. So.
Yeah,
Councilman Seaver? O'Connell?
Jason, if we approve this simplified acquisition process and your budget's way off,
Right.
we still gotta enter a contract, is that correct? We still have to approve a contract? Isn't that right?
No, well,
So if you're way off, and
Right.
we say, no, we're not gonna approve the contract for $150,000 more than the $350, it
Mhm.
basically goes out to rebid, correct?
it could, but then, I mean, if I'm way off,
Humor me.
I can't take it out of my own pocket or anything like that. So I mean, the
Exactly.
city's still gonna have to pay for it. Right?
Exactly, but we're gonna push back the timeline, and you're gonna put it out for rebid, basically similar to the timeline you probably would have used if it wasn't an emergency.
So we have the option
That's
to
a-
reject.
I guess.
bids,
Correct.
right? That's
Then,
what my
but
concern-
then
That-
we're back to we're wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
I get that, but if the
But if I'm
bids
way
don't
off
come back
now, I'm still
competitive,
gonna be way off later, unless we can't give them a year. We can't
Right. I
might get good
understand
bids
that.
if you give somebody a year to construct this project, but yeah, I don't know. I can't guarantee anything. But
Yeah,
have
I
you talked
guess-
to any contractors yet, Councilman Connell?
I'm hoping you've talked to about 6.
I've talked to a few, and I don't know if I'm way off or not, but I met a boring contractor down there that's gonna be coming up to handle a bore under the railroad tracks at 25th Avenue. He's pretty interested in it, so.
And there was some potential mobilization cost
Right.
savings as well, was there? So we can do this if it becomes to the point where we're not expecting a reasonable reject it and go through the normal process if necessary. If we were to reject it as this process, is that gonna extend the normal process, or would it still fall within a typical timeline?
It would extend it, I think we could have an emergency council meeting or something, so it might just extend it another week or so. But I can imagine a scenario in which the low bid is $400,000. And then, you all reject that bid, thinking that, oh, we'll better just go to the normal process. And then we go through the normal process and the cost is higher.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that going through this process and finding a good number of quotes, and then following through on that and hiring that contractor to do the work is the best option. regardless of the cost. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be $1 million, for instance. I think it's
And
gonna.
so the bids you receive through this process will be presented to us?
Right.
Okay.
They'll be presented to you at the next council meeting.
Okay.
I think that the council has to make a decision now. Let me just say that I would recommend that if we don't go this route with the abbreviated process, that we just decide now to go the normal process, cause if it comes back a little over my estimate, it might come back under my estimate, but if it comes back over my estimate, I'm not gonna make a recommendation to reject the bids.
What's the difference between doing this and the regular bid process? 2 weeks?
A little more than that. It's about 4 to 6 weeks, and we won't save any mobilization costs on the bore, which is, it's nice. I mean, we have an opportunity to use a contractor that's already in town, an emergency job, so that's just a kind of a ancillary benefit. And you'll have increased costs just for contract handling and bonding and these sorts of things. So I don't think it's gonna save money by bidding it out under the normal process, in my opinion.
I'm not asking to table this. All I'm asking is that
Right.
we put a little more competition in it, because I think that's our obligation as far as what we spend on this project. And to put it out there with we gotta have a bid now and we're behind the 8 ball is not a good idea.
I think we'll have the same amount of competition under this process, unless we just allow more time to complete the work, which is sort of silly, so.
Is there any further discussion? Thank you. Can we call the roll, please? Pat?
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
No?
Gasman.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Connell?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution approving electronic bidding procedures and official statement. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Gasman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes?
Thank you. Councilman Holder?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution establishing a public hearing date for the conveyance of gas pipeline easements to Interstate Power and Light Company. I move that it be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember O'Neill,
Yes.
Gasman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Seeley?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution approving the proposal from Calhan and Bruns and Associates Incorporated for the 2017 inspection and rating of city bridges. I move this resolution be adopted as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Oder,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes?
Gasman.
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes. Councilman Gasman?
Yes, Your Honor, I have a resolution declaring surplus property. I move that be adopted as read.
Second?
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember McGraw,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gasman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Connell?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed sale of city-owned vacant lots, 617 3rd Avenue South. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gasman.
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilman McGraw?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed sale of city-owned vacant lots at 529 7th Avenue South. I move that the resolution be adopted as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gasman.
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor.
Yes.
Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed sale of city-owned vacant lots at 1427 25th Avenue South. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman Odor.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed sale of city-owned vacant lots 212 Second Avenue South, and I move that it be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember O'Neill,
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Councilman Seeley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed sale of a city-owned vacant lots, parcel number 86-0241-001, lot 14.
You skipped it.
Skip his
Uh,
Yeah, there's one more.
Seriously?
Yeah. I was
Zero
telling
zero
you.
zero one, lot 14. I move this resolution be adopted as read.
Second. Can I ask why that doesn't have an address, by the way?
Yeah, it's the old dump site, I think.
Is it a dump site or what?
Yeah, it's so up north where, just north of 30th Avenue where the, old, entrance for boats is, or is located. That's all a dump, and they basically classify all those lots as 14 through like 29, and they go up in order, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes. Councilman McGraw.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a motion to approve the mayor's recommendations to boards and commissions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Do we want to read them?
That was the one I pulled, one. I
Oh,
was going
perfect.
to read that.
It's on the advisory
Ah.
consent.
Okay.
Wait, that's a different one.
That's a
though.
different
That's
one.
a different one.
That's,
There's two. There's one at the end of your packet.
Should be at the end.
isn't that the boards and commissions?
Yeah, there's a separate one in there.
Here, it's this one. You wanna read them?
This is the same.
Why is it part of the consent agenda then?
Councilmember, the part of the consent agenda is the minutes.
Oh,
This is
okay.
the mayor's,
Appointment.
New appointments.
appointments.
It's the same as the one I got
Well, they
here.
asked you to read it as well.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'll read it. Yeah.
I just
We'll do
thought-
it together.
Okay, I just thought it was important, these people are citizens, and they agreed to put their name forth to serve on these boards. The Park and Recreation Advisory Board, Kelly Shimmers. The Airport Commission, Bill Shimmers. Zoning Board of Adjustments, James Pillar. The Finance Committee, Phil Barger was reappointed, and the Civil Service Commission, David Brown was reappointed. And I thank these citizens for coming forth and agreeing to serve.
I agree.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor.
Yes.
We have 3 items under unfinished business. The first item is from Councilmember McGraw. You asked to have that pulled.
That's the one I just read.
You read the names. I think they're asking for the minutes.
Oh, I don't wanna read all those minutes.
No, no, no.
You can just make a motion to
Make a
approve it.
motion.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
let's
make a
just do
motion
that.
to approve those minutes.
Second.
I'll second it, yeah.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there any other discussion? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember O'Neill,
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Councilman Seeley.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is for Jason. I just, if you haven't had enough. Is there a cost for us for this when we have to do this? Do we have to pay them for the temporary easement or?
This one isn't, but it's a very complicated matter. In fact,
Oh.
this temporary easement itself is not
Did
complicated.
it start in 2013?
No,
Okay.
that was the project number. We kind of started thinking about this project in 2013.
Okay.
So, but this is real easy to explain. It's complicated, but we designed the project with a lot of our infrastructure actually upon this property, which we thought that we owned, this is a bad map, but I won't even show it to you. It's just gonna confuse you. But you know where, if you've been down to the boat ramp down there in South Clinton, if you travel along that ponding area, there's a little building there. That's the Margaret Place Pumping Station. Next to that's a gravel parking area that we use to access and maintain that pumping station, and we have since its construction. So we designed this project here, which is reconstruction of the pumping station above ground, and then adding a large pump to handle flood control underground. And we designed the project to include a generator that would sit on this parcel, which we did not own and do not own, so we can't do that. So we've now redesigned the project such that that generator is on our own parcel, but we still can't construct the project without, this belongs to ADM, and they have no real use for it, according to Dean Brainerd, but they do own it, so we have to enter into a temporary easement agreement to use that property during construction, or at least we should. We've been using it for access for 40 years anyway, but this is just good practice, getting a temporary easement on record, and so our contractors are more comfortable working on property that the city can be on.
So does
that's
a
what it is.
permanent easement need to be filed then?
And so then, this is why it's complicated. The temporary easement's not so complicated, but later on, because we approached ADM about acquisition of this parcel, once our surveyor dropped a bomb on us that, wait, we don't even own this. So we approached them, and they're like, well, that's cool, but we'd also like to own a parcel over on Liberty Avenue that they use to drive their trucks on now, like part of Old Liberty Avenue there. And that's a convoluted matter. We've asked a local appraiser to appraise both of those, and then we will discuss those at a future council meeting. But just in case that discussion takes months, we have Plan B here, which is to locate our generator on the property that the city owns and just use this parcel for a temporary easement area. And that's and so Dean is the plant manager there.
Yeah.
He signed it, said, you can use the property as long as you want. You can access your pump station forever, as far as I'm concerned, but yeah, he signed the temporary easement agreement at no cost and said, we'll be accommodating.
Okay.
We have to actually work on their property, divert some of their truck traffic, so they're very accommodating on this project.
Okay. All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Oh,
Alright.
the other one's for you too, so.
Okay. I was gonna
But-
look
We
at my
better
other
vote
stuff.
on
Alright,
this one.
I'll make a resolution, or blah, blah, blah. I'll move this be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
yes,
Halsey?
Yes,
Oder?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
O'Neill?
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Seeley?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just couldn't find the change order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
You're like missing craft for this
think,
packet.
yeah, that other one, I really don't know how that got missed. I should have been more handy with the Dropbox, I think. But this is just it's sort of it's not something new. It's just an extension of contracted unit prices. So we wanted to pave more of 6th Street than we had designed due to undermining and pavement collapsing, rather than hire another contractor to fix what needed to be repaired. We just directed Langman to go down the street another, I think it was 60 feet, and we extended the contract and used contracted unit prices, and it was fine. So those contracted unit prices are a lot cheaper than we would if we would have just hired Joe Contractor. So we got it done for $10,000, included it as part of the project, and it's done. Actually, this is just paperwork for the DOT.
Okay.
All right.
Are there any further questions?
Well, I have a problem with
Councilman
approving a
O'Neill?
change order that I can't see.
I would like to see it. I don't
Yeah,
know. Does it need
I don't like change
tonight,
orders
or-
anyway, but I'm not ready to approve one I can't read.
Well, the work's already done. This is a.
Well, it's a point of order, really. It's
I would really like to pass this out, if I may. There you go, you can pass that around. This is very similar to what happens when, on every construction project, during construction, the quantities, and so it's never just a lump sum project. We never just say, construct this project for X dollars, you pick. And then they come up, and then there's all these nickel and dime change orders. It's always a unit price contract. And on every project we do, the quantities are never the same as constructed as bid. There's always, within measuring, there are always things that are added. Well, we're chasing to the next crack now, you know, it looks like that panel of concrete's a little shifty, and that's a little bit sketchy over there, why don't we just kind of move it 15 feet? And that adds cost, and we can't, and this is commonplace among all communities in the world. We have to make these decisions, especially in a project that's $4.6 million. I don't think a $10,000 decision to replace a junk roadway on the spot is going to matter too much. So it happens all the time on every project we do, and it happens in every community, not just Clinton. It's not something that we made up.
I think he was just, Councilmember O'Neill was just wanted to actually physically see the change order, which you're passing around. Right?
Well, thank you for interjecting that, but the whole idea of getting a packet and getting this to read ahead of time is not to come here and peruse it in 15 seconds and say, yeah, it's okay. I know $10,000 not a big deal in some world, but it's a big deal to me.
Well, I was just going to say that we wouldn't even have had a change order tonight if it weren't for the DOT. We expanded the project 60 feet, like I said, and they wanted to see a formal change order rather than just to end of the project reconciliation of quantities. And it's federally funded, so it's like 80% federal funds. But
Okay.
well, I mean, I'm sure they won't mind waiting another 3 weeks if you.
So is
I
that
don't mind.
Is that only our
guess.
portion then of what we have to pay?
That
or-
$10,000 is going to be our change order.
Okay. So it's actually a larger change order.
No, it's a $10,000 change order. That portion of the project is 80% federal funds. This portion, since it's outside the limits of the original project, is not federally funded.
Okay.
This small portion.
Okay. Thanks, Jason.
I'll move we adopt it as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes,
Oder?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
O'Neill?
No.
that concludes our unfinished business. Councilman O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move we adjourn to 7 PM on May 23rd, 2017.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Can we move directly
We'll
in?
move directly to, we're gonna do that, and we'll move directly to the, after that, yeah. The Committee of the Whole for May 9th, 2017. Ready to call the order, Pat, when you're ready?
Councilmember Gassman?
Here.
Seeley?
Here.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Oder?
Here.
Connell?
Here.
O'Neill?
Here.
Our first item tonight is going to be presented by City Administrator Brooks.
Thank you, Major Pro Tem. So we are continuing to work, BNS and I continue to work on the policy, but we wanted to bring to the council of the whole tonight where we are with the resolutions that just passed, and so that the public can know what we're working on currently. And it's very important as far as the steps that we provide. We'll go through this vacant lot piece, but then I'll just touch a little bit on the way ahead, working with legal, making sure that, because we've already had a couple occurrences occur that I'll address as well. So the bottom line on this is the policy's being worked. This is, a piece of property that's determined as a nuisance property. It's currently city-owned. It's, we're looking to sell it to an interested adjacent property owners, which are those that live to the right or left of it, not across the street. And it's in the best interest of the city. And so, and there's a bid process in the public hearing. I just want to make sure that's clear for all those folks in the audience and that are at home. because this is a very this is, I was misquoted in the paper, but that's okay. This is, as each and every one of these, I think Scott Levine said, I said ruling, but I didn't, that's okay. So for Scott out there, each and every instance has to be looked at differently. And as far as the outcome comes, they will be different, because if someone bids from across the street, in this instance right now, they will not be able to get the property. It has to be the adjacent owners to the left or right of the property, east and west, north and south of the property touching it. So the next phases that we go into, we'll get more into how we actually approach each and every one. We had a gentleman come up, we mentioned, Paul asked about that property up at 14. He's interested in the whole east side. Well, we have not even got to that part yet. And because that's valued at, you know, about $67,000+. So we're just trying to go slow now to go fast later. So I wanted to make sure that I clarified and answered any questions in this council of the whole. I'm going to bring back to several different council of the wholes each step until we get you the full policy as we create it, as we move forward on the tougher ones. We think these are going to be more feasible, suitable, acceptable out of the gate to get us some momentum. Then we're going to have to come back to you and give you some of the challenges that we are currently facing or will face with these other nuisance properties that we'll have. Does that make sense? You guys have any questions? Really referring to the first 5 that Jeff rolled up into resolutions tonight. For those, the process will have a public hearing on May 23rd. That will have the sealed bids Pat put out, that the city clerk put out. We'll receive them by May 17th. And then we'll have basically right of last or first refusal in this case as they come in. But we'll share those with you as well. And it'll probably just be make sure we'll get with legal, but I think we're okay to be able to just send that information out as we get it in, so you're aware of it, if that's okay with Pat down there.
Sorry.
Pat?
I will certainly review that with you.
Yeah, with us, yes. Yep.
So just clarify, these are on non-conforming lots?
So the ones we
That
currently
we're
have.
gonna allow just the property owners?
Yeah, well,
next door.
we have a little bit of both. We have one that's 50 foot, but the rest are non-conforming lots. Or it's like Marvin Hill wants the piece right next to him that's lot 14, was the old city dump for a dog run. So this is the ones Jeff and I picked that folks came to us that are a little more feasible to handle out of the gates.
Should the ones that are buildable be able to be conveyed to anyone?
Anybody?
Well, and Jeff and I discussed this. So one of the examples, and I wish I had a big whiteboard in here to draw out, because one of the examples is if Jeff and I live next door to each other and we have a plot that's between us that's 50 feet and you can build on it. Is it more feasible for him to take 25 and me to take 25 and we keep our assessed value lower? Or is it better for the city if we actually have somebody build a $175,000 house and the property value goes up even higher?
Well,
Is that,
that's probably not.
yeah, on a 50-foot lot?
Yeah.
Okay, 125.
Okay.
A lot of the questions arise there, because if the two adjoining lots are 40 foot, and let's say they're in R1C zoning, they'd be non-conforming, they would become conforming, and technically through assemblage might be worth a little bit more money by having it split right down the middle. So I wonder where and you mentioned, Matt and I discussed this a little bit,
I have your sticky
where
stuff.
you've got two property owners that both want a chunk of property. Their lots are non-conforming, but then we can take 2 homes that are non-conforming and bring them into conformance by splitting that puppy down the middle. But then how do you handle that? Do you say, well, the highest bid is $500 for the whole lot, so you each got to pay $250?
Yeah, and this is where the policy where we want to take some time and due diligence as we move forward, because it's going to become complicated. Each and every avenue we go, we'll get a different kind of curveball thrown at us. So we want to make sure we're doing right for the citizens, but also doing right for, you know, the town.
We have to do what's right for ourselves too, because
Yes.
once you start splitting properties, you're gonna have to survey them and,
Yeah.
you know, spend $10,000 on them trying to get them to
Yeah. Well, and here's
be
even another.
saleable for $500.
Here's even another good example. So, you know, and this is where I have to talk to the legal team, because let's say that we gave the example, Jeff and I, we have a lot between us. And say I get that lot, but I have my lot in my wife's name, and I want to keep that new lot in my name. So we didn't even combine them. And then what if I later on go and sell that lot that I got for $500 through a bidding process, and I go and sell it for 10 grand? So this is where we need to spend some legal time with Pat and his team to actually look as we move forward. It's going to get complicated.
Is there a way that you can mandate that it must be titled if you're gonna go split it
Well,
that way?
well, I
that it
think we
must be
can, but that's,
titled the same
that's
way?
the part we need to bring to you on each and every one of those pieces that we wanna turn into a possible resolution to come to you guys and say, here's your options. Do you wanna have it where they can title it however they want, or do you wanna have it merged into your current parcel? Yes, Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you. Probably the easiest way to get this complicated is doing what we're doing right now, is second guessing everything. That's when this originally came up, why I was pretty much in favor of turning this over to Jeff to work with you and just make it as simple as possible. You know, as far as somebody's lot being improved, I think we really need to think very quickly about putting an automatic abatement on when these people take up this extra property, that it precludes the assessor from, or we just abate any increase in taxes for at least 3 years, so they have some motivation to do it. Because the quickest way, I mean, it's just a shot in the heart. People won't put siding on their house because they know as they're putting it up, the next one handing a piece of siding will be the assessor, and their property's gonna go up. So, you know, it just, we need to make it a good deal for them to take that. I mean, some of them are just doing it for nothing, but to make it an incentive to take that lot, and it's not gonna be an increased assessment. Now, maybe an increase in the taxes, but as long as they get abated, I think that's an incentive in itself. Trying to figure out every possible scenario, we could be here forever. So
Well, no, we're gonna help you do that, but we have ordinances for everything. What we don't have is an ordinance on how this is actually done. So that's why, only reason we wanna bring it to your attention, to get those ideas, cause we had not got into depth about abatements. We talked about what would make someone not wanna come forward for this property, and we keep going back to, our mission statement is to reduce cost on nuisance properties.
Okay.
And get them back to the folks that can use them for better needs.
You can impose any conditions you want in a purchase agreement or in a bid agreement with any members of the public to come forward. They'll be informed of the bid terms consistent with whatever policy the council ultimately approves. And it doesn't have to be necessarily an ordinance, it just needs to be a resolution authorizing city staff to act within certain parameters. So, as long as we're following the Iowa code in terms of disposition of property with a proper public hearing and so on and so forth, you can do anything you want, and it may make sense to do it differently in certain circumstances.
Sure.
I felt that what we tried to do was make this simple for you, to move this forward as fast as we can, because Jeff is frustrated, and that was the whole thing, is he came up here and practically begged us to do something that makes this a simpler process for him. So, I think that's what we should try to do.
Isn't the goal here, though, is for us to kind of work together on outlining a process for this? Is that what we're trying to do right now?
Yeah. Because what Jeff and I talked about was this. In this case, if we don't actually have your all's focus and direction on this, what could happen is, that same lot I gave an example that splits Jeff and I, somebody from out of town can come in and buy it if we don't have policies and procedures in effect. And then it reverts back to a nuisance lot that we don't own, so now we're even further away of pulling that into us to be able to then manage. And that's,
I mean, as Matt astutely points out, the council has the authority to approve a resolution which would state in part that the abutting landowners would have the right of first refusal on any property like that that's offered. And that would take care of the problem. Now, you might get less up front for the sale of the lot if you do it that way, but it still achieves a proper public purpose and you're getting fair market value. It's just that maybe this speculator from out of town wouldn't get the crack at it because the abutting owner would snap it up. It's the council's prerogative.
I think 2 points. One, you could put a caveat in there that whoever buys it has to hold on it for 5 years, or at least, so you don't have that. And the other thing is, I think in the last discussion, I think I made the point, it's not about the revenue, it's about the expenses that we're gonna get rid of. That's the major thing. We're talking about a huge amount of expense. The revenue is just gonna offset some of the loss and expenses that we've incurred over the years. So to look at this as a money-making project, I think is probably ill-advised. I think it's better looked at as a way of avoiding future expenses, and just get them out of the way. And I think that's Jeff's whole point. He's spinning wheels, cutting grass and running around and stuff that he could sell to someone else and it'd be their problem.
This is briefly what I'm thinking. You guys can run with this however you want. I think the procedure should be different for a buildable lot than a non-buildable lot. I think if you have, for a non-buildable lot, adjoining property owners only, and so procedure for take bids, highest bid may win, or I think there should also be a procedure when you have both property owners wanting part of the lot, and if I think it's important here, if you can bring two non-conforming lots into conformance with two willing people to work together, how would we do that? So then do we still tell them to bid on the lot as a whole, take the highest bid, divide it? But then Paul had a great point that what's it gonna cost to split this? They're just small lots, so I don't know what, so we need to look in what that will cost, because we don't wanna be spending $5,000 to sell a $200 lot. So that's kinda how I envision it, I guess. That's just
I agree with that.
Yeah, so our main objective was, not to draw this out, but basically get your guys' input, understand the complexity of this, understand we're gonna go slow, but we're actually gonna form a policy and put it together in accordance with Iowa law, plus have our great legal team look it over to make sure. But just wanna let you know, we wanna be fair and impartial too, and make the folks out there understand that there is a process, albeit here's the steps you have to take. Cause even if you have chickens, you gotta get chicken training. So in this case, you do, it is, that's another story. But you have to have that, so we wanna make sure they know what the guidelines are that they can follow, so.
I guess to piggyback on the expenses that could occur on a $1,000 lot, if it's gonna cost $3,500 to survey it, can't we, this could be something you could look into, I guess, is, if the costs are going to exceed a certain amount, then they could be eligible for an abatement, a tax abatement.
Yeah.
At a certain point.
Definitely.
That could be all figured out prior to the close of sale.
And we are talking to other municipalities, that it's not, we're the only one in the country that has to deal with this. So we have several different, basically platforms we can use, and, cut and paste, plagiarism is the best form of flattery. So there's some policies that are out there that we've seen that Jeff and I are gonna dig into, but we just wanna keep you updated where we are, so we're not running down the stream too fast without having your guys' direction.
Thank you. So there's no further movement on this. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep. Thank you.
Anita? Anita wants to talk about write-off limits.
Yes, as I stated in my memo, I took this, one of the functions of the finance committee is a set policy. So I took the policy that was written in 2013 to the finance committee and asked them to change it to have a higher ceiling for write-off. And so I think at the time, the $43 was determined because we were going on to the MS governed billing system, and the amount that you could, one of our collection tools at that time, still is, but is one of the ones outside of our own ability to lien a property, was to use the Iowa Income Offset Program, and it had a limit of, you couldn't put anything on that was less than $50, and there was a $7 fee associated with it, so they arrived at the $43. I printed off before I came up here tonight a report that just shows how many bills are in our system currently that are greater than 120 days and have no current usage on them. So they're sitting there for us to go through that fall between the $43 and $150. And I didn't get them all counted, but if I average based on the number that I'm seeing per page, there's about 280 accounts. Now, some of those, I'm not suggesting that all of those would be written off. I'm just saying that if, as we go through them, if we find out that we can't even determine what dates of service they're for, and there's no other way to collect them, that we would be allowed to just write them off under an updated resolution.
280 over 90 days?
No, this goes back a long time,
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
Over 120 days.
Oh,
Yeah. A lot of them are someone that may have moved into an apartment, lived there 2 months, and then left. And so by the time they left, then the current the sewer bill got put onto the account, and now they're just sitting there, and a penalty is being charged to them, and it just keeps increasing the balance. Yes, Councilmember O'Neill?
Are these the same or different than the bills that you sent to a collection agency because that's our last hope? Is that correct?
Well, in order to send it to the collection agency, I have to be able to tell the collection agency that Sue Jones lived at this address and the dates of service are from here to here. And there's the one that I included in my memo, that we discovered a couple weeks ago. It had a balance of $73.23. And we couldn't even go back into our old billing system to figure out what the dates of service were. So on that particular one, I can't turn it over to the collection agency.
But-
And rather than spend any more time on it, it would be nice to just be able to write it off.
Are we not now at the point where most of this that's left on that age report is really a hope and a prayer? And
Oh,
at-
yes.
At some point.
Yeah, these that I printed off that are between the $43 and the $150 range, some of them are, of the 280 that I told you, there's 47 pages here, and there's probably 25 records on every page. Not all of these. It's only the ones that would be greater, between less than $150 that have no current service at them, that we would look at each record, determine if it's something that we could turn over to the collection agency, and if we can't, then we would just write it off. Can't shut off water because it's not a current user.
So
You can't lean
150
it because mostly it's a rental property. And if you can't determine, right now I can't do anything with it.
Right.
I've got an account here from 2012. I spot checked a couple. I cannot determine when that usage was from. It's $46.16. And right now I can't do anything with that balance but let it sit there and accrue penalty.
Is 150 enough, is my question. Because at some point, I'd like to see nothing sitting there except for ones that are under $500 that we're working with. Because
Yeah.
as it still winds up on the audit as dead weight sitting there that really needs to move on. We've solved the problem, we got a solution, and now the stuff sitting there just needs to be shoved out the door.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But we're still working through accounts that are in about the $650 range that are current users that still have not done anything. We started highest balance to lowest balance. And then each week we go back and we also identify those that came in and signed a payment plan but aren't keeping up with it. So, we still continue to, today's Tuesday, we shut off 3 accounts. And what's strange is all day we didn't hear anything from any of them.
What do
We
you
just
do
know how
if,
tough you are.
You see the same name come up on another property?
All the time.
I mean, why should we keep forgiving the same person every time they don't pay you for $150?
We could be diligent about looking at that name. One thing that we've never done, my staff has never done, is they've never had a sewer bill follow a person. It always stayed with the meter and the resident, and we're not doing that anymore. We're having the sewer bill, if we see new service established, and if a landlord comes in to sign off on the lien waiver form, we ask them if they know where the person moved to, and we transfer the balance to from their old account to their new account. We did not have that practice before, and I have no idea why.
Do we have dupe check on any of the fields to find out names, duplicate names within the system that are?
The only thing I could do is take this report and sort it by name. We could do that.
You can do that, though. You don't have to manually do that.
Correct. It's it's a download to Excel, and we could sort it by name.
Kinda interesting. Yeah, when we discussed this at the finance committee, Anita had indicated 150 would be adequate, so that's what we felt comfortable with.
Yeah, we can always raise it.
Are you running?
I might-
I'd like to take the motion forward from the finance committee and set the limit at $150.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we move this to the next meeting. Pat, can we call the roll?
It's on my anniversary.
Councilmember Gasser.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Jason, we have some recommendations from the Traffic Study Commission.
You didn't forget your attachments for this.
I don't know what happened. So I must have put them in the Dropbox and then deleted them or something. I'm sorry about that other thing. There was nothing. Wasn't trying to sneak anything in there, you know. No reason for that. But yeah, so the traffic study meeting met this month, or it was the last month, and we the first issue that was on the agenda was the potential removal of a traffic signal at just down the street here at 3rd Street and 4th Avenue South. And the reason this comes up now is because part of that infrastructure is attached to one of the streetlights that's getting replaced, and we wouldn't just hang it back up on a new streetlight, obviously. So we'd have to replace that infrastructure. We would have some cost in doing that, and the underground wiring will fail someday soon too, and all the poles are rusty and just they're in fact just it's ugly. So we thought at this time, before we spend any money at that intersection, we should just see whether or not that signal is warranted, since we've removed 5 others in the area since 2011. Basically 1 per year for about 5 years. So we did a traffic count first of all to see, maybe, you know, we didn't think that the signal was warranted, but we did a traffic count to figure that out, and it's not really even close to being warranted. In our opinion, based on the counts, and especially due to the preceding upstream traffic signal, not that that has a lot to do with it, but traffic would operate and function fine and efficiently. Fully functional intersection as a 2-way stop. I could go through the numbers, but there are several warrants that we look at. It's a peak hour warrant. Is the traffic just overwhelming for 1 hour of the day there that you have to have a signal to control traffic? There's the most common one that's actually met is the 8-hour average warrant, which is over an average hourly traffic count over any 8 hours of the day. It's basically an algorithm that is just meant to represent, can someone pull out without a traffic signal with this amount of cars running by in an hour, or can someone on the major street, can they make it through like in 1 queue? You know, if you start to see some signals that back up after 2 queues, well, that signal's definitely warranted. But there's never more than a car in line heading down 3rd Street. So yeah, the numbers are an average of 285 cars per day traveling south on 3rd Street and 124 cars per day approaching on 4th Avenue South. So, and to meet the warrants, you have to have 500 in the major direction and 150 in the minor, and that's just the 8-hour warrant. So it doesn't meet that, so obviously it doesn't meet any of the peak hour warrants and, you know, a bunch of other warrants it doesn't meet either. Not a lot of accident history at this intersection. The only ones we do have are running a traffic signal. 2/3 of the accidents are due to ran traffic signal. So, yeah, I don't see any reason why we would keep this traffic signal. It's going to be costly. I estimate over the next 10 years we could spend up to $50,000 at that intersection just rehabbing the old equipment. And last year, per Alliant Energy, we paid $1,700 just to power the signals. So that's a cost. I mean, that's, yeah, anyway, over the next 10.
There are more situations in town where these lights are getting old and probably don't need to be there anymore.
Probably. And
should we start looking at those? And I mean, they cost us money to
Yeah,
have them, to
I agree.
maintain them. I mean, if we don't need them, let's
Common
figure
sense.
it out. Yeah.
It's common sense. There's a few on 2nd Street, and I've talked to the DOT about that, and there's some other things at play there where they want a traffic study of the whole highway corridor. We did remove the 3 on 5th Street, if you remember, maybe 7th Avenue, 5th Avenue, 2nd Avenue. We removed 2 on 4th Street, and there's this one, and yeah, there's a potential for a couple more. But most of them we have are warranted, and some of them just barely. But yeah, this one's not warranted. I mean, long story short, we don't need it. If you trust me on that, we don't need it. It's going to cost a lot of money to maintain it, and it's unnecessary. It's too bad the mayor's not here. He owns a building right near that intersection.
It's a
So
funeral home.
hopefully he's here at the next meeting, and I know he's on vacation, so I don't know.
If we,
He's enjoying his vacation. But a few other items I had here.